Southside 457. Did you know that the Southside on Lamar is a National Historic Building?
This building tells a story.
I need a story to connect to with my heart.
There are so many stories in this building.
I wanted to teach other people how to naturally love themselves, and so I ventured into the field of opening my own spot.
There are people in this building with a passion to share what they know.
When I share my knowledge and my skills and my gift, I'm serving my purpose.
Preachers, teachers, architects, attorneys, engineers, artists of all kinds in this building.
What makes this place tick to me and makes it exciting is the combination of so many different kinds of people.
It's like a melting pot.
It's like a melting pot.
15 years, I've never regretted being here at Southside.
Welcome to the Southside 457 podcast. I'm your host, Walter Johnson Jr. Let's get it on. You can't miss the princess.
Listen, Linda, listen.
Southside 457.
Welcome back to the Southside 457 podcast. I'm your host, Walter Johnson Jr., and today we have the specialist, Mr. Urban Specialist himself, Antong Lucky. And what do they call you?
Man, they call me Bruce Wayne.
They call him Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we move further, how you get the name Bruce Wayne?
Man, it's a long story, but just to summarize it, man, when I got out of prison, I did a change. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But I had this new mindset, this new idea. But when I got out, everywhere I go and I meet people, new people, when I told them my name, my nickname, my other nickname, they always had a story associated with it, right? Mm-hmm. So, every time I would meet somebody, and I say my name, either they had a story or they knew me, et cetera, et cetera. And even when I was locked up, right, I met a lot of guys who were talking about me and didn't know they were talking about me.
Oh, wow.
So when I said I got to do something different, man. And so Bruce Wayne came because, of course, I love Batman.
Yeah.
He was, Bruce Wayne by day, businessman, and he was Batman by night trying to save Gotham City. So, that kind of just parallel with what I was doing.
Okay.
Great moniker.
Okay. So check this out. One of the things I always ask everybody on the show is, you just don't come to Southside.
Yeah.
You got to be invited, or you don't just bump into Southside.
Right.
So the very first question.
Yeah.
How did you get to Southside? How did you end up at the Southside on Lamar?
Man, long story short, man, Jack Matthews, who owns Southside.
Absolutely. He's been on the podcast.
Yeah, that's my guy. That's my business partner. That's my guy. That's my partner in time, man. So,
right on.
It was just like that equals that. You know what I'm saying? And plus, our office, the Urban Specialist headquarters, sits right directly under Matthew Southwest. And so it was just natural for me to say, man, this is my neighborhood now. This is my community. I walk to work. So
how did that connection come together with Jack?
Well, I met Jack through the late, great Bishop Omar Jawar, who was my mentor, world-renowned community leader. Me and him started a lot of work together over 25 years ago. And we met Jack through Willis Johnson. I don't know if you know Willis Johnson introduced us to Jack because he was just familiar with the work that we were doing. And when he connected us, man, it was just like the relationship just became like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you met him in your work and what you do?
Yes.
So explain to the people like what exactly is Urban Specialist and what it is that you do.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Urban Specialist is a non-profit organization that was started by, again, Bishop Omar Jawar. Me and him connected in April of 2000 with the express idea that we wanted to serve communities back then it was about gangs, so we wanted to pull young people away from gangs and give them opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. And so we've worked in neighborhoods, we worked in schools, we worked in juvenile departments over the last 20-something years, and then here recently we tweaked the model to become this organization that empower local leaders, OGs, community members on going back into their own communities, taking control of their communities. And so that's kind of been the work. And it has seen many iterations of that, but that's been the work. But right now we empower local leaders, we in communities, we do a lot of stuff.
So let's rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
You said that you were in prison and you were in prison.
Right.
But then you changed.
Right.
Can you tell people like who is Anton and who was Antoine?
Yeah.
And where did the change happen and why?
Oh yeah, man. I was I'm a native Dallas, born and raised here in Dallas, man. Frazier Courts, East Dallas, housing projects. My father went to prison when I was 9 months. He ultimately did 37 years flat. But as a kid, right, with my father gone, my mother was 16, choosing to work. She had to work. She had to be the provider. I had I remember growing up, right, not knowing anything about my father, and my mother was closed that chapter, went on, and nobody talked to me about that, right? Nobody ever said, and I wanted to know. As a kid, I wanted to know. So I took a lot of my pain and my wanting to know, and I used that as fuel in school, right? I became an A on the road student, a talented, gifted student, the whole 9 yards. But I remember as a kid feeling like, man, I don't know my father, and I felt dumb asking the question. So I never asked the question, right, of who he was. Nobody even took the time out to talk to me about that, right? And so growing up, A on the road student, talented, gifted student, in school, but I was born into a neighborhood in East Dallas. Here in Dallas, was one of kind of roughest neighborhoods back then, and so the name of the game was survival, strong rule the weak, smart kids get bullied. And I learned quickly, right, that I had to hide being smart. I come from a big family, Lucky's, a big family who kind of ran the neighborhood, and so probably around about 12, 13, probably earlier than that, man, probably about 12, 13, I amputated my personality and said, I'm going to be what the neighborhood said I need to be, right? And one choice led to another, and me and a couple of my cousins started the first blood gang here in Dallas. At the time, there were no blood gangs, it was all Crips. And every neighborhood had an identity except our neighborhood. But we would fight these guys every day. Anytime we go out our neighborhood, mile up the street, west, south, east, we fighting these dudes. And so myself and about 3 others said we're going to be the first blood gang in Dallas, man. And that's a choice we made. And it just grew exponentially, right? Grew. And to the point, I was dealing drugs, running the neighborhood, until one day I found myself standing in front of a judge who said that I was a menace to society, and he sentenced me to prison.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when that happened, it was crazy because May 7th, my daughter was born, my first child. And I remember making a promise to myself, if I ever had kids, I would never be to my kids what my father was to me, and that was absent. And here I am, standing in front of a judge, expecting leniency, and he looked me dead in my eyes and said, "You're a menace. You need to be in prison." I'll never forget that.
How many years did you get?
I did 4 years on a 7-year sentence.
Okay.
Yeah. But I went in like that. But I went in at a time when Tupac had just dropped his album, the one with Live and Die in L.A. on it. And for us, right?
Was that Thug Life or something like that?
No, I think that was Machiavelli.
Machiavelli.
He had just dropped Machiavelli, man.
Live and Die in L.A.
Live and Die in L.A., right?
No.
Yes. And for us, right, for me growing up in the neighborhood, Tupac was like the prophet who spoke to my existence, who spoke to what I was dealing with, like my situation paralleled his, right? And so I listened to Tupac a lot, man. That was like my favorite artist during the time, right? Going into prison, I was running drug houses. I was afforded a certain lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. But that day changed my life. That judge told me I was a menace to society. It changed my life. And I remember as they were leading me out the court, looking at my mother and saying, because I'm the oldest of our kids, looking at her, that look on her face, right? I'll never forget that look.
What was that look?
That look as if she failed. She had a look on her face like I failed, like because she really, my mother never been in trouble in her life, and really was working to provide for me and my siblings, but she looked like she had failed, and I saw that look, and then going back to the holdover, I started thinking about my daughter. My daughter was 2 weeks.
So the holdover is.
Once they sentence you, you go back to the holdover cell.
How long do they keep you in the holdover?
They take you back to whatever tank you came off of, and then 45 days or less, you're on the Bluebird head to prison.
Okay.
So that I remember that process, man. I remember thinking, because when the judge sentenced me, he said, "You're a menace to society," and I remember having a conversation in my head. And I was like, "But Judge, you don't understand. Like, I'm from East Dallas in my neighborhood, man. These are the circumstances. You gotta be this." You know what I'm saying?
How did you feel, like when the sentence was when you got it? Like, what was the immediate feeling?
Man, I feel like whoa, because I felt like my life has sped out of control, and I'm just not realizing it. Like my life was well up there, and here I am, and I'm trying to catch up. So it was a blow because I didn't expect to be sentenced to prison. I really didn't expect that, and so it caught me off guard. It knocked the fight out of me.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a lot of thoughts in my mind. Like, wow, So after getting the sentence, now I'm going to stay here a little bit because I just think that it's important for people to understand the reality of and the consequences of their actions. And I tell my kids, I'm like, okay, you could decide, you can make the decision, but you don't get to control the consequence. Exactly. The consequence is not yours. Like I would tell my kids, like, so you could do whatever it is you want to do. Yeah. But when it's my turn to discipline you, you don't get to tell me how I get to discipline you. Yeah.
I get to choose.
Yeah.
So after getting the sentence, going over to the holdover tank, what was that walk like going back to the tank?
Oh, that was a slow walk. It seemed like everything was in slow motion, right? Yeah. I just started looking at stuff, and it was just that realization that you're not finna go home. Like, you're not finna go home. It was that realization. That was the realization that was that eye opener. Like, you're not leaving. Like, you gotta go to prison.
Have you ever been to jail before?
I've been in and out of juvenile and all that good stuff in jail, in and out, some little stuff, but I had never been to prison. That was my first time going to prison.
So thinking, and I'm staying here for a minute. We can move on, but
no, you good.
So knowing that you're about to go to jail, prison, and you got 7 years. So, like, how do you wrap your mind around that, and how long did it take for you to just realize, okay, this is my reality?
Man, it's when you get sentenced and you walk back to the holding tank, that's your reality. You're not going home. When you walk past your family, that you're not going nowhere, right? And it hits you right then. I mean, because your opportunity to leave was when you stand in front of that judge.
Yeah.
They lead you, because normally you go back out. Mm-hmm. But when they lead you to the back, that's the realization. So for me, a lot of thoughts came over my mind because I said, man, I started thinking about a lot of stuff. I started about, like I said, my mother, my daughter. Then I started thinking about the harsh realities of what's to come, because, mind you, I'm going into prison as the leader of the first blood gang in Dallas. I'm going in prison as that. And so with that come a lot, so then I'm thinking to myself, like, all of the stories I done heard about prison, et cetera, I'm saying I'm making up in my mind, I might do 3 or 4 years, or I might do 7, or I could do more, because in my mind I'm saying, as much as I would like to go and come right back home, that I know it's an unknown out there. Like, I know that, I'm going to have to make up in my mind that, kill or be killed. Like,
prison.
In prison, yeah. I had to make that up in my mind. Like, I'm not gonna take no. I'm not taking no shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because you hear all the stories,
And being the leader,
you're
so
about
to get
it come with stuff, because you got to understand this new for Dallas. Never have there been no blood gang in Dallas up until this point. Mm-hmm. And so here we come. We create this whole situation, and so now I'm going into a place where the odds are probably 100 to 2, meaning 100 Crips to every 2 Bloods.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going into a situation like that, because that's reflective of how it was in state school, etc. So I know in prison, it's a different level, more deadly level, but it's 100 to 2. So I'm going into that situation.
So you had to get your mind. You had to get your mind around it.
Yeah. I can't hide from that. Ain't no hiding from it. I'm saying to myself in the hold up, I gotta face that head on. I'm gonna have to face that head on, and I don't know what head on. I don't know what
you don't know what it is that you're facing.
Yes,
you just know that whatever it is, you got to deal with.
I got to be
dealt with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my thought. That's some of my immediate thoughts while still in the county thinking about this. I'm saying, man, what if this happened? What if this happened? What if somebody did? How would you handle that? I'm having these thoughts in my head prior to going.
Okay, so with those thoughts prior to going,
yeah.
Now you're on that bus that takes you there.
Yes.
The Bluebird, as you call it.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Man, that's one. That's a ride there, man. The interesting thing about when I went to prison, it's probably about 45 inmates on that bus, right, that I was on, and only maybe 1 or 2 people had been to prison before.
Okay.
So I'm on a bus with a bunch of individuals who had never been to prison, other than
they don't know
they don't know what to expect. And so I'm gauging as we going down 45. I'm being very observant. I'm looking at these brothers who are going, and and I can see in their eyes the fear. Mm. They had real fear in their eyes, because you had one guy talking about prison. Hey, when you come, man, they gonna do this and this gonna happen, and we on the lookout for this. So he kind of talking. I'm quiet. I'm just quiet listening, but I'm listening to what he's saying, right? Because he been a couple of times. Yeah. But what was prevalent and to me was the fear of the individuals who was on that bus, because it was their first time too. And so me acknowledging that made me say, oh no, I ain't gonna be that. I ain't coming in here fear. I ain't no.
Did it try to creep up on you?
The fear?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, you had that.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
If your first time going to prison, the fear gonna be the fear is gonna be there, because you can't control. As you just said earlier, you can't control the consequence, so you can't control what this environment gonna bring you. So it do come with a level of fear, and I too experienced that fear. But in my mind, I kept beating that fear down with, man, nah. When I was looking at them around the bus, I'm saying, nah, I can't be that. I ain't. Because you can sense it and you can feel it. Mm-hmm. And I said, nah, like a dog. Dog can sense fear. So I said, I had that little fear that was creeping in me, I kept suppressing it, saying, nah, that ain't going to be me. And it was funny, too, because when we got off the chain, but we pulled up at the prison. Yeah. And you pull up, it's just like on one of the movies. How you pull up at the prison, all the dudes at the gate, and they screaming and shouting at the bus. It's a very frightening situation that you're going.
They're trying to scare you.
Oh, they did. That's the purpose. They at the gate, shirt off, looking like, Hercules, and they do it there, all that. So all that's there.
They look like Bruce Wayne.
Oh yeah, man. All of that's there. Yeah. So we get off the bus, right? So when we get off the bus, they take us in the gym. And all these dudes at the gates, talking shit. And so we get in, and the people on the bus with me, they were afraid, like super afraid. They were afraid. And when I got off the bus, we got to the gym, man. First thing I did was I bent down and laced my boots real tight. You know, I said, I don't know about y'all, but it's shit. And so, cause when you get off the bus in prison, what normally happen is these dudes who are already in prison, they go to siding you up. You know, they go to siding, cause you gonna fight. You gotta fight when you get off the bus.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. You gonna fight. So when you get off the bus, you got these dudes siding you up, and everybody looking who they gonna get, right? And so it was interesting, right? Cause a lot of them dudes that I came with, a lot of them had to fight. You know, some of them got beat up pretty bad. And it was interesting though, but it's just something about me, man. I think I'm just special, man, because when I got off the bus, tied my boots up, I said, I don't know about y'all, but I ain't taking nothing. And I remember this dude approached me, right? And he walked up on me, man, and he was like, hey, bro, bro, where you from? And so normally that's the invitation, you know, they ask you where you from, and then it go from there. And so dude asked me where I was from, and I came so aggressive, right? Immediately, nothing but aggression. You know, I don't know if we can cuss or nothing on here, so I ain't gonna do that.
What'd you say?
But I said, what the f you want to know? You know, I came at him. You know what I'm saying? Cause in my mind, if somebody, this what I said on the way on the bus down. This is my mindset, right? I said, if somebody get in swinging distance to me, but I've been prepped on that, I'm swinging first. No doubt about it. So when the dude approached me and he's like, hey, where you from? And I responded with aggression, he backed down. He was like, nah, man, I'm just trying to tell your partner them, they over there. You know, and I was still kind of adrenaline flowing, but he was sent to fight me. Yeah. He's supposed to fight me. Out of everybody, this is how I know I'm special. Out of everybody on that chain bus, I'm the only one didn't have to fight. Everybody else, I'm talking about, you know, you see that. Dude who came to me, I came off so aggressive. When I look back in hindsight, I came off so aggressive, man. He backed down and was like, man, your partner them over there. You feel me? And so
you about to get him,
man. If he'd have got in swinging distance, I'd have pieced him up. But he bagged up real quick, and I came so aggressive. Cause when I got off the bus, I tied my shoes up, you know. But
so they saw that.
Yeah, that was the first. Yeah, man, that was my first day, man. That was my first day.
Okay, so now you're in there.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Kind of share a little bit about that, and then when the change happened. So what was that day-to-day like after going through that and being tested throughout the time, and how the leader of a blood gang is in prison? Right.
I learned. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. What I learned quickly. I learned quickly, just right off the gate, that prison is designed to humiliate you to the fullest. It's to break your dignity. Prison is meant to break you. It's not to rehabilitate you. It's meant to break you as a man. Everything that they do is to break you. It's very dehumanizing. It's just humiliation, man. I remember getting to the prison, and they made us strip naked. So you got to imagine, 25, 40 men side by side, naked, right? And then you got officers who looking at you like you cattle, men and women officers. You stand up naked, and then they make you bend over and spread your cheeks. I remember when they said that, I thought they was playing. The dudes did it so quick, I was still standing up like, bend over and spread my cheeks so somebody can look. I was so humiliated that an officer got in my face because everybody else did it like on cue. Me, I'm standing up like looking at everybody like, what? And this officer, I remember this officer was in my face, man. This officer got in my face. Who the hell you think? Because I didn't know the drill. I didn't know the drill, and I felt like that was humiliating. But I ended up doing it. I had to do it nevertheless. But from the onset, I knew that prison was designed to break us down, to humiliate us, et cetera, et cetera. And so that was kind of my introduction to prison. But when I got situated, got into my house and all that good stuff, because one thing people have to understand, everything that you do out here, they knew about it in there. Probably sometimes quicker than most people out here. So what I didn't know is my name, my reputation, my family name had preceded me. So when I got to prison, it was almost like, and it's just my experience, I was treated almost like, and being noted as the leader of the Bloods, I was kind of treated with this kind of like, almost like a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it at first. I didn't notice it. I just noticed that dudes were flocking to be around me, all that good stuff. The Bloods, I had some partners that were there. They was giving me the lay of the land, telling me the odds and the numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And they was really prepping me to call the shots, right? But mind you, from the holding cell, from the judge, when the judge sentenced me,
Yeah.
back in county, those days, my daughter was 2 weeks, all the way to the Bluebird to prison. I had been contemplating in my mind what I wanted this experience to be, right? And I had made, in the county jail, I said that I wasn't going to bang in prison because I knew if I did so, then that would prolong me away from my daughter. Because I said, if I take this route, if I say I'm finna go in here and be OG, et cetera, then it's some unknowns that I know that my 7 years can turn to 40 years, right? I knew that. And I had that conversation with myself in the county. I said, man, I had made that decision, man. I said, I wasn't gonna gang. I said, I wasn't gonna gang.
You made it in the county. You knew that you weren't going to do it in there.
Right. I knew.
Did you get tested?
I did. I did. I'm gonna tell you about that. But I had made that decision, right, in my mind. Because, like I said, Tupac had just dropped Living Down in L.A. And I was listening to that before I got locked up. That was kind of like a soundtrack that was in my back of my mind. And in that song, he said, learn about the West Coast, B's and C's. These other dudes, copycats. D's the G's, right? And I remember when Tupac said that, when I was free, that burnt me. Because I knew emphatically that my neighborhood we created this gang based off what they were doing in California.
Yeah.
Right. When Colors came out, because it was Crips in Dallas.
Colors.
Way before. Yeah, it was Crips in Dallas.
Your assistance.
Yeah.
Problem I got. I just put my fist in.
Yeah. Cut.
That was a jam, though, man.
So that was
me and my cousin got into a fight. I want to say me and my cousin got into a fight on that movie, man.
Wow.
Because I think he had picked one side and I picked another side, and before that movie was over, we got into a fight. But anyways, go ahead, man.
Say, man, when that movie came out, bro, in the theaters, man, like 88, 89, somewhere up in that 90, when it came down, it showed us that the enemy to the Bloods, to the Crips, were the Bloods, right?
Yeah.
And when we watched that movie, and again, Crips had already been situated in Dallas, like Dixon, Trey 5-7, those are our enemies. They had already been Crips. We were kids. And so we seen that, but we still didn't have no identity. We still wasn't banging. But when that movie came out in the theaters, that soundtrack, it turned us up a whole nother level, know. And so that's what made us say, well, we're going to be the Bloods. We're going to be Bloods. You know what I'm saying? And so, but then, again, so that was that. So nobody from California didn't do like other neighborhoods, came down and put us down and nothing like that. It wasn't none of it. It was just saying, we said, man, we've been fighting these dudes since elementary. They've been Crip. They've been wearing blue bandanas that we didn't really understand. Mm-hmm. So we said, okay, we the Bloods. And that's how it happened. But me understanding that when I got locked up, I had to come to grips with this reality that we emulated what we saw on TV, what we heard in the music. We emulated that. Like, that one naturally.
It wasn't a natural progression.
Yeah, well, it wasn't naturally for us. It wasn't. It wasn't. We didn't
You wasn't
originate
birthed
that.
out of that.
Yeah, we weren't birthed out of that.
Culture,
We didn't. We didn't originate that. We were emulating what we seen on TV. Because you got to understand, man. Back in Dallas, back in the early '90s, mid '80s. Dallas was still searching for his identity back then. We would get all our swag from East Coast or West Coast.
Yeah.
So we would listen to California music. We listen to New York music. We were consumers before Ghetto Boys and UGK and all that good stuff. So everything we did, we mimicked that, right? Mm-hmm. And so when Pac came out with that CD, Living Down in L.A., man, he said those words. It burnt me. So me getting me getting locked up, I had time to start thinking but prior to that, my lifestyle was fast. My lifestyle was fast. I was scoring 3-4 keys a week. I had people working for me, et cetera, the whole 9 yards. So my life was fast. And I spent a lot of time peeking out windows, making sure anybody followed me. And that was a miserable life. I would say that. It was very miserable, man. Because I used to wake up every morning at 4:30, no later than 5 o'clock, and I would leave my house because I knew that the feds or the narcs were coming at around 6 in the morning. And that was my lifestyle. Like, I would have to keep moving around. I was watching, always in my thing because I knew they were coming. And that was a miserable lifestyle, man. But when Tupac said that, right, when he said those words on that song, I said, man, I ain't no copycat. And I had to rationalize and settle with the fact that we emulated what we saw. This didn't originate from us. So I went into prison with that, along with thinking about my daughter, along with the way my mother looked, et cetera, et cetera. So when I got to prison, I had it in my mind made up, hey, man, I'm really not finna go that route. And so when the brothers were coming to me, hey, I need you to call shots, I'm listening, but in my mind I'm saying, nah, I ain't finna get in. Because you gotta understand this too. Prison is a whole different world than this right here. Yeah. Oh, it's totally different.
Explain.
It's totally different. In prison, there's some norms and stuff that happen inside prison, segregated. So if you're white, you gotta be with the white pride. If you're Mexican, you got to be with Tango Blast, Mexican Mafia, Texas Syndicate. If you're black, you got to be with Bloods, Crip, or BG, Black Guerrilla Family, et cetera, et cetera. It's really divided like that. You got to choose. And those gangs,
they recruit?
Oh, yeah, off the bus, they recruit. When them fights happening, that's recruitment. Because if you're getting off the bus and you scared and you don't fight, you scared to fight, you just chose. That's gonna be your sentence. And the one thing about prison, if you want to fight every day, every hour on the day, for 2 years, you got a whole slew of people who gonna make sure that happen. That's how prison works. So you get off that bus and you're not fighting, or you ain't showing that aggression, you just chose. Right, you just chose, like, that's gonna be your stay. And so for me, man, the world, it's a different world, right? And connecting to those gangs is your protection, because other gangs, they look for the stragglers too, like somebody who they look for them too. So that's why you may see a white dude with some Mexicans. That's because they done cuffed him, or Mexican with a white dude, vice versa. You with us, that kind of stuff. And it's a serious situation, because it's life or death. You get killed quick in prison without a heartbeat. Because you gotta understand, you locked up with people who got life, people who got life without parole, et cetera, et cetera. 2 and 3 life sentences, they not going nowhere. So they don't got nothing to lose, et cetera, et cetera. But I had made up in my mind, I said, man, I'm not doing all that good stuff. And finally I told them that I wasn't. I said, I'm not banging. So at first, you know, the hurt and the people who love me, people who felt like they represented me, the hurt in their eyes, right, when I said that, right, because they didn't understand, like, you put this down, you started this, you know, you was a part of the architect of this, man. You can't walk away, you know, like some people in here, because they gave their life to this. Like, it's some dudes locked up who repped our neighborhood, you know, and did some heinous things that they'll never come home again. They saying, and how you back away from that. But I was so convicted, man. Walter, I was so convicted in my soul on my daughter and my purpose and all that kind of stuff, man. And then I knew, like I said, when the judge sentenced me, my reaction in my head was, Judge, you don't understand, that ain't really who I am, man. My neighborhood like this, like, you gotta be this way. It ain't no if, and, or but. You gotta be this way, but that's not really who I am. I just put that on to survive.
Yeah.
And that's the reality for a lot of black and brown kids across this country. They're not bad. It ain't that they want to do bad.
It's survival.
It's survival. And most people don't articulate and understand that. So you can look at an individual and say, just because he made a mistake, he a bad person, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't know granularly what led up to that. You don't know what that child or what that individual had to do and go through. And some people may say, well, yeah, no, people don't become gang members accidentally. That's not true. But if I'm a young person, I walk out my house and I look down the street and I see 20 dudes stomping the lights out of somebody, and they all got on blue sweaters and he got on a red sweater, then my deductive reasoning gonna say, man, you better go back in the house and put on the blue sweater.
Right.
Now you in a gang. That's how that happened. You know what I'm saying? Survival of the fittest. And so when that judge sentenced me, I'm saying, Judge, you don't understand. That ain't who I was. Because I think that's the reality, right? And so when I was coming into the understanding of that, while I was in them holdovers, I was really backtracking my life, saying, how did I get off track? How did my life speed in front of me? And as I started choice after choice after situation after situation, it took me way back to when I was that talented and gifted A on the road student who really wanted to do right, et cetera, et cetera. And I started seeing how the environment and the lack of certain things played a part of what
like
pushed me to that. Father not in the house, mama working long hours, ain't no program, pimps, drugs, this. And so I seen how that happened, because then I started looking at other neighborhoods and other situations where this stuff wasn't lacking. You know, it's like the humanist theory, give a person the right information, the right tools, they can develop. We didn't have the right tools. We didn't have the right information. And so I started looking at that, right? And so that's why when it came to me to make that decision in terms of whether I going to lead and call shots in prison, it was easy for me, coupled with Tupac saying them words, it was easy for me to say, I ain't going to do that, because I said to myself, if I can risk my life gang banging for a color that could take my life, then I gotta be equally solid and standing on business when I'm representing what I think is good, you know. So I went into it like that, and there was a lot of speculation around it. Like, dudes
they pushed back. How long did they push back?
They pushed back for a minute, because in some people's mind they was questioning
if you were real.
If I'm doing this because I'm scared.
Oh, okay.
You know, you had that element. You added the fake. People were trying to figure it out. But my actions in prison over the time substantiated why I said that. Because in prison, I made it my college. I mean, I really, you know, I give credit to this brother, Willie Ray Fleming, who was older than me. He had been in prison probably 15 years before I got there. And I remember walking out the chow hall. It was August of 1997. I'll never forget, because it was triple digits weathered it for the whole month. 110, 120. And I walking out the chow hall, man, and this brother, he was from Houston, and back in prison, Dallas and Houston didn't mix. That was whole nother beef at all. And so this brother was from Houston, man, and he was an older brother. He seen me coming out the chow hall, man. He approached me on the bowling alley, right? And he was like, he said, "Little brother, I need to talk to you." I'm looking like, huh? Cause I'm going back to that first day.
Yeah.
Is it one of these kind of situations? Cause I'm trying to weigh it. And he said, "Little brother, let me talk to you right quick." He said, "Man, listen, man." He said, "Man, I've been hearing all these brothers on this unit talk about you." He said, they fall out of place. They all want to be around you. They do whatever you say, et cetera, et cetera. And at that point, I hadn't noticed that. I didn't notice how he noticed how the rest of the inmates were treating me, right? But I did know everybody used to always fall out of place where I'm at, all that kind of stuff, right? And he said, "Man, these brothers following you, bro." And he don't know me. He don't know what I'm dealing with in my mind, what I'm, this transformation that I'm going through in my mind. And he said, "Listen, little brother." He said, "Man, if you got the ability to lead these brothers to do wrong," he said, "Little brother, within you is the same ability to lead them to do right." He said, "You're a leader."
Right on.
And I looked at the brother and I'm like, because it resonated with me, right? First I was saying, when was he paying attention to me that I wasn't paying attention for him to know all this?
Yeah.
This prison way.
I didn't even know he was looking.
Yeah, I didn't know he was looking. So I'm like, what did he know this? But that brother Willie Ray Fleming, man, he was an older brother, very astute brother, very sharp brother, very intelligent brother. He was a Muslim too, the imam. Man, this brother took a liking into me. And he started mentoring me, right? He started giving me these books to read, so he would give me these books to read because we started a relationship. We started talking, right? And he was talking some good stuff. He was talking to where I was at and where I was going, and everything was sounding good. And he was like, "Man, little brother," and he would make me read these books. And I started reading these books. And so my actions in prison started dictating that. I became friends with the librarian.
So hold on a second. So were you a reader before you got to prison?
No, I wasn't.
So what was that process like, picking up a book and not being a reader, and then
it was like this. It was like this. Read one page, be asleep.
Yeah.
It took some discipline because, our minds, if your mind is like the body, if you don't exercise it's weak.
So when did you switch gears and start just it becoming a natural thing?
It took probably about 2, maybe 3, anywhere from 2 to 4 months of just constant repetition before
page here,
there, 2 pages, and I started challenging myself to read 5, challenging myself to read 10, to the point, man, I was reading so much. I would be in the day room with 5 or 6 books at the table, reading so much that the brother, I never forget this, I laugh every time I tell you, the brothers used to come, they would plot up and come grab me and pull me away from the table and say, "Man, you coming out the wreck. Man, you gonna bust your brain," you know what I'm saying? But I was so intrigued by what I was learning because I was so impressed by all the stuff that I didn't know. Like it was a whole world that I didn't know. And then too, it provided an escape from it.
What one book that you read in prison changed your whole life? What was the book? Autobiography from Malcolm by Alex Haley. And the reason why I say that, because that's one of the first books he gave me, because Malcolm trajectory was similar to mine. Detroit Red, all the stuff he did is, running numbers, et cetera, to watching him educated. I did everything that Malcolm did. Malcolm learned the dictionary from A to Z, from A to Advork. He read the whole dictionary and memorized it. I did the same thing. Malcolm was reading 14 hours a day. And if you read in the book, I was doing the same thing. I was even going 16 hours a day, when I didn't have no job in prison. So I was reading like that, and I was getting this information. Then I started seeing what Malcolm, later on in his life, he was debating with those scholars at Oxford. Just a regular street cat who educated himself
to become very astute, blah blah. And his whole mission was educating his people, et cetera, et cetera. So that book changed my life when I read that, because I saw myself. When I read Make You Want to Holler by Nathan McCall, that was another book. He was from Portsmouth, Virginia. Nathan McCall was a younger brother, more modern, who went to prison. Same experience as me when you look at it, just some differences. But then he went to prison, changed his life. And then he started working for the Washington Post, started teaching at Emory University, all that good stuff. But it was those books, Think and Grow Rich by Dennis Kimbrough, not Napoleon Hill, but Dennis Kimbrough.
I never read that one.
Bad. It's a change of life. Dennis Kimbrough.
So it's a different.
He took Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Okay. I read that one.
Yeah, and then he put it in terms that's familiar with us.
Oh, and I got to check that out.
That book there, Malcolm, Nathan McCall, and Dennis Kimbrough, Think and Grow Rich. Those three books out of all my books I gave away, I kept those. I got those same books on my bookshelf right now that I had when I was incarcerated. Because those books unlocked something in me, man, that boy just, So I became an avid reader, man. I was reading a lot of stuff. I wasn't asking for money. I was asking for magazines and books when I was locked up. So I, in essence, made prison be college for me, right? It became college for me because I started educating myself. But I did have challenges. Like, I had one friend, God rest his soul, but I had one friend came to prison after I had made the transformation, and he couldn't accept the fact that I wasn't calling shots for the Bloods, that I wasn't running the gang. And he was working in the kitchen. And this was still during a time where people were trying to figure out, was I really real or was I faking? Because in prison, it's a real situation. It's different than this. Like, it's life or death real situation.
Yeah.
And so this brother, I knew him. He came from the neighborhood, my friend, but he didn't accept that I had denounced the gang. Like, I fully denounced. I wasn't inactive. I denounced the gang. Like, I ain't had no business with that. I was start teaching against gang banging.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't accept that, right? And he was new to the unit, came on the unit, he's working in the kitchen. I seen him one morning coming in the kitchen, and he seen me, he said, "What's up, blood?" And I said, "Hey, bro." I said, "Hey, brother." Because back then I wasn't using no profanity or nothing. I was in this cocoon.
Yeah. Did you have a little hat?
Yeah. I went through my black stage. I call that my black stage, man. And because I was it, man. I was read everything under the sun. And so the brother said, "What's up, blood?" I said, "Hey, bro." I said, "Hey, my brother, don't do that. Don't call me." And I explained to him. Next morning I come. He do the same thing because he knew me from the neighborhood, so he wasn't accepting. He like, "Nah, I ain't accepting that. Not OG. Nah." He was like that, right? And I can understand his sentiment, right? Because it's somebody who looked up, blah blah blah, right? And he was a big youngster. And on that third time, man, he did it again. And when he did it again, without me thinking, because I'm really in this mindset, right? I have really changed, and so because all this information that I'm taking is just, taking me to another level. But man, he had. I came in that morning, man. It was like the third time he did that, man. And you can tame a lion, but he's still a lion. So when he said it the third time, like, because I didn't see him the other day, I just seen him in the kitchen. When he said it, man, I immediately jumped over the line back there where the service was. Mm-hmm. Man, I hit my partner so hard. It sounded so loud in the chow hall that everything got quiet and he hit the floor. And I just remember standing over him. And I jumped back over the counter. But he was looking with this look in his face, like, and still to this day that look hurt me because he had so much respect for me, and it hurt him, for me to, without thinking, I just jumped over the line and I hit him, pow, and he hit the ground, boom. He big youngster, he hit the ground, boom. And I remember that look, how he was looking at me while he was on the ground, right? And I was like, whoa. And I left because I was kind of heated. I went back to my dorm and I'm thinking about it. And he was shook behind that. But I think what had inadvertently happened was when that happened, I think it signaled, and it's me looking back in retrospect, but I think it signaled to the Crips and to side of the Bloods as well, but more so to the Crips.
That you done.
Oh, that he for real.
Yeah.
That he ain't like he's standing on what he's standing on. Like he ain't doing it because he's scared. Like he really for real. You know what I'm saying? And I think that kind of situated that situation right there. You know what I'm saying? Because that was a youngster who was from the neighborhood, who was repping real hard, and nobody saw that coming. So I think that was kind of the moment that people said.
Was that the end of that beef with him, or?
Oh yeah, he was good because I was the OG to him, you know. So it's like, oh, big OG whoop, you know, etc. So even though he's way bigger than me, but I think that kind of, you know, me and him patched that up later when we got out in the free world, etc. Except he ended up passing away, having a car wreck. But I think that while I was in prison, that kind of signified to everybody. You know, where I was. And then it was another incident where a young blood who saw me, and he wouldn't let me rest either. He just like, and he felt like somebody very important was in prison because he represented the Bloods. But again, I told you, the odds were 100 to 2. So he was in a tank with 53 other Crips. Roughly,
and just two of them,
and just him.
Oh,
so every time I would walk by, and he don't know this. It's a young. He's 18 years old. He don't know how to denounce the gang. Like I'm not there no more. And so when he would see me, he didn't know me. He just heard about me. And so when he would see me, he would run to the glass and throwing up gang signs and, you know, this and that there. You know, and I'll be looking at him, you know. But he, in his mind, this youngster. And so, look, he kept asking me to see my pictures. I had to see my pictures. And I never wanted to give him my pictures, right? Because I had a lot of pictures. Because I had a lot of pictures that was kind of gang related, you know. A lot of red in the pictures. And I know that's what he wanted to see. Because he was on a dorm with a bunch of Crips. And I never wanted to get that youngster my pictures. And then one day, he kept begging me, and I gave him my pictures. I got my picture back 2 weeks later. Because he was over there proudly that I was next door. He was proud. And in my mind, I'm saying, youngster, you better chill, you know. Because he didn't know. He have a clue. And he ended up going down to the chapel for some service that they called out for. You know, everybody can go to service. That's probably where all the gangs meet up at the service back then. And they end up jumping on that youngster. And they all the Crips jumped on him, stomped him out. They had to car flight him out. He died.
Oh wow.
So that situation was that was a tough situation for me because people was expecting me to retaliate for that, et cetera, man. And it was like a bunch of pivotal moments that I had to make some real pivotal decisions that could have took me back, you know, et cetera, but I had to stand firm on them, man. And, you know, it took everything in me, you know, to make some of the decisions that I made because I understood that whatever I perpetually do is true for everybody else. So if I do anything contradictory to this new outlook I got, then it voids out everything else.
Yeah.
So like,
and you start all over.
Again. So like if I would have called a shot and I said, hey, we have to do this, then it would have took me back. And I wanted to make the difference between denouncing the gang fully versus being inactive, because I believe like when we get a certain level of information, we have to make those kind of decisions as we grow, right? So that was my experience, man. I mean, it was a lot of stuff that happened during the course, but I began teaching in prison, man. I became very good, and look, I became so good at teaching, right?
What were you teaching?
Just basic life skills. We're teaching men to be accountable, having them to understand how the system works, but more importantly, teaching men to be accountable to themselves and then to their families, et cetera, and then showing them the patterns by which the choices that they make put them in these situations, etc. Cognitive distortion.
Did you have like a
Outline?
yeah, outline like
No, it wasn't that. It was more so of me learning OJT on all the stuff that everything that I was learning that was applicable. I was applying it in that situation.
Gotcha.
Like everything, like the stuff that I was teaching and doing. Man,
you were downloading
and then
outputting
just like that, and I was walking. I was very cognitive and walking the walk, right? Because I didn't even know it. I was teaching cognitive intervention. I didn't even know it, and so. But I was walking it. I was walking the walk. And you got to think, I'm young. I was in prison from 19 to 24, something like that. I'm young, and so I'm teaching and I'm walking this stuff, and I'm giving this information out because it's coming in. I'm giving it out like I was really in college, right? Really learning in college that situation, and so started teaching. So much so that even me ended up on Beto 1, which is a maximum security discipline unit. That's what they send all the bad boys. I went there by choice. The prison people came to me and a couple other brothers because they seen the work that we were doing with the men on one unit, how we were getting these men together and getting them back in shape, et cetera, et cetera. And they asked me that I wanted to volunteer to go to this unit called George Beto 1. It was a maximum security disciplinary unit. Most people on there doing life, et cetera, 99 years aggravated time. Did I want to go there? Because at this time I'm on a medium custody unit, probably a low custody unit. And so I said, let me think about that. And I remember because I still had time over here where I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know, family, close to the family, they can visit me, this and that there. And I had to make a choice to voluntarily go down the highway, couple hours down the highway I got 7 years, non-aggravated. And I'm being asked, do I want to go to a maximum security unit?
Like a demotion.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the question, right? That they was asking me, right? We need you to go over to this unit because they got a lot of issues. They got a gang problem.
They want you to de-escalate. Kind of.
Exactly. That's exactly what the conversation was. But I don't have to go.
Yeah. But
because of the work you're doing, we need you over there. But you don't have to go. I said, let me think about it. So I went back to my cell, man. I'm on my buck, man. I'm in my buck. I'm like, God, what you doing right now? You know, you supposed to take me out of this situation. Now you finna take me out of this comfortable situation and send me to a situation where the unknowns of astronomical.
Yeah. Because
I'm going to a unit where gang members, life sentences, bail parole, they got killings every day, etc. You want me to go over there and do something about that? You want me? And I remember having that conversation, bro. That was a tough conversation because again, that was another unknown. Like I established myself at this unit.
So you can be tested again.
I got to be tested. I got to go through this whole situation again. And man, I remember laying on my bunk saying, "Ooh, we God," but my transformation and everything that I was dealing with was real. Like it was really real. It wasn't fake. And so, man, I came back the next day, and I told them, yeah. Some of my friends were like, they didn't understand. Like some of my friends were like, "Man, you got to be crazy. Did you know Beto? What did you know what they doing?" And I said, "Man."
You just felt led.
I felt led to do it, bro. Like I had to get over there, man. So I ended up going to Beto 1 unit, man, and had to do the whole situation.
Maximum security,
man. That was a situation. I had some fear. I ain't gonna lie. I had a lot of fear, but I said, now, this purpose.
Started lifting them weights a little bit more heavy.
I'm doing 500 push-ups a night. Boy, I said, what is this gonna be? Yeah, because I was real slim in the shape, but man, I ended up going to Beto 1, man. It was the same situation. I had to start over again. It was a different situation, a more serious situation. Dudes 4 and 5 life sentences, et cetera, stabbings and killings every day on the unit. But I went over there, man, head up, chest out. It had the same impact. After a while, had the same impact, man. Had the same impact, man. I came over there head on, man, educating and teaching, man. And it was interesting, man, because as I began to teach in prison, like dudes were, whenever I was slated to speak, man, they would have extra rank, extra officers, because dudes would come from all over. 'Cause now I'm in a maximum security, and some dudes they know me. Some dudes I ain't seen in years. You know what I'm saying? Who been in here acting a donkey. All these dudes is coming down to hear me speak. Right? It was interesting, man. It was, and I want and man, I had in my mind, man, I had did a whole 180. And I was so serious. I was so disciplined about what I was teaching, because everything I was teaching. You gotta understand, I was so naive, man. I was teaching against homosexuality. I don't think I was naive, but I was that's how naive was, because there was a lot of dudes engaging, and I'm up here, and I'm naively teaching it strongly with a passion, and I didn't know till later on that, man, it was dudes so mad at me, ready to fight, man. I didn't even know it, because I was just, I was talking about the norms in prison and all this good stuff, but I was really, really serious about the work, man.
So let me ask you this: when you said you were being led, like when did you find? Because I see you have a cross on your chest.
Yeah.
But you said that this guy who was your mentor was Muslim. Yeah. So. Did you convert, or when did you convert, and what was that process like?
It was like this. Willie introduced me to Islam, right? And I was very astute. I was an avid learner, man. I was just a quick learner, and I learned. Islam opened me up to, because I became an imam in Islam. It opened me up to a lot, right? Because you seek ye knowledge from the cradle to the grave, right? In the discipline that came with it, it made me go study comparative religions, all different type of ways of life, et cetera, et cetera. It just sent me on this journey.
Sent you diving deep.
And I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot, different ways of life, different deans, learned what the indigenous people did, et cetera, et cetera. It took me just on this, it made me study harder, learn harder. But one thing I realized as I dabbled in a lot of different ways of life, I bear witness that that there is a universal God who requires some certain stuff, right? Etc. And I started to see those similarities in all these different expressions, right? So I think what Islam did was open me up to the idea of being spiritual.
Just receiving from that higher power,
right? Receiving, exactly.
And then you reposition,
right? Exactly. Yeah. So it taught me not to be judgmental or criticizing other people's way of life, et cetera, because I think it's universal love. All the laws are the same, and so it just opened me up. It made me to where I can respect those tenets and those expressions that I believe that's associated with this higher knowledge. So I could walk in today. I can walk in a masjid on Fridays and do salat. I go to church and listen to the preacher, because I'm not looking at them. I'm listening for the word. I'm listening for the inspiration. Yeah. See, oftentimes we look at people, we look at we look at the different ways, but we're not listening for the instruction in the word that makes us a better person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I can go anywhere and be listening, and I can hear those tenets and those principles that's applicable to life to make us better people, better human beings to each other, et cetera.
Regardless of who mouth it comes out of. Regardless of who mouth,
because you're no longer listening, looking at the person.
Yeah.
You're trying to hear the message. You hear the message, you can come from anybody. I can hear the message from the baby.
Yeah.
If you've trained right, oftentimes we denounce racial discrimination, but we practice religious discrimination.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not right. I don't think that's of God. And so I just think
Denominations
and all that good stuff. You have to listen to the word, because if it's not making us a better person, if it's not making you my brother, if it's not making the white dude my brother, if it's not making the brown man my brother, and we see the humanity in them, then I think we missed the mark.
So when did you convert? After you got out, or when you got out to Christianity?
Well, actually, I got out when I got out practicing, but I just think as the information became available to me, I didn't see stuff like this. I don't give this no meaning like that. Right? I don't give it no meaning, because even when you give this a meaning, it's a form of idolatry. You know, because this can be a form of idolatry if you give it meaning. I don't give it meaning. This, for me right now, this is jewelry. This is just stylish jewelry. It can mean whatever it wanted to mean to the person who looks at it and say, okay, he's a Christian. Whatever. If that's an entry point for a conversation for us, then that's cool.
Yeah.
But for me, and I understand this, your salvation, your understanding, all that deals with your soul, it ain't on me. That's on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That the way you choose to worship, the way you choose to engage, that's on you. That's a choice that you have to make. That you have to engage. That's not on me. You know, because this could be a moon with a star on it.
Yeah.
It's just a conversation piece and a piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
I don't give it no meaning, to be a form of idolatry.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when you
but I do go to church.
Yeah.
I do go to church every Sunday and pay my tithes.
So you got out.
Yeah.
And when did you write the book?
I wrote it.
And okay. So you're doing urban specialist.
Yeah.
So let's get to the book, to urban specialist, to where you are now.
Okay. Before I got out, I'll just say this here. That work that I started doing in prison, I began to bring men together, different races, different gangs, this and that there. My message started pulling all kind of people together, regardless of what their backgrounds were. Because I had learned not to look at people based upon, their gang affiliation or whatever the case may be, or they racial makeup, because I realized, like, my situation, like, I put this on as an armor to protect the little boy inside of me. So I could look at men and see that if he an Aryan Brotherhood and he got tattoos all in his face, that don't mean that he have hate in his heart. That just means he putting that on to ward off people because he trying to protect the little boy in him. And I ended up becoming friends with an Aryan Brotherhood. I mean, the dude who was the head of the Aryan Brotherhood. This dude had tattoos in his face, crosses, swastikas.
The Aryan Nation?
Yes.
The white dude?
Yes. Look, it's in my book.
Yeah.
Look, it was interesting too, because when I started seeing different, my perception changed, I can look at people and see their hearts, right? And so I was good at connecting with people, looking past the places where other people would judge them at, right?
Yeah.
So anybody could be my friend, right? Because now I'm friendly. I'm no longer looking for ways to get into it with you or looking for ways to fight you.
You're trying to connect.
I'm trying to connect. I was fortunate enough to have, and I'm going to get to where you're saying, I was fortunate enough to have money on my books to where I can make spreads every night. So I didn't have to eat in the chow hall.
Make spreads. Explain that.
Oh, spreads, man. That's when you go to commissary. To all my returning citizens, they know what I'm talking about. You go to commissary, you get them noodles and cheese and the roast beef and all that, or Jack Mac, whatever it is, and you cook. You have somebody put it in the bucket and cook it, and then you eat it with the Ritz crackers and cheese and peppers and all that. A 5-star meal in prison.
Yeah.
So I had the, and in prison, right, it was customary for you to make a spread, big bucket, gallon bucket, but you only eat it with your group. So it might be 5 or 6 of y'all. Y'all done made a big bucket. The rest of you throw it away. And I saw something wrong with that. That was a prison law.
Oh, they would throw it away?
They throw it away. You ain't gonna give it to nobody else, because remember, it's segregated. Mm. So what I would do, because I was paid, because it was my food, I didn't let them throw it away. So I would make bowls, look around the rec room, or day room, and I just see people hungry. Hey, bro. Which was against prison, norms.
Yeah.
But it's mine. Who said we got to throw this away?
Brother Teresa.
Yeah, Brother Teresa. I like that. I might keep that. Well, look, who said we got to throw it away?
Bruce Wayne, Brother Teresa.
I like that. So look, man, I'll go around. When I go around the dorm, and I would just get people food, right? Because one thing I know, if you don't have no money on your books, you ain't finna turn no spread down. When you got to eat what's in that chow hall.
Yeah.
The chow hall is worst of the worst. It's slop. So I would do that, right? And through doing that, I would make friends, because people weren't used to you being nice and doing that in prison. But I take food around, and I remember this. I'm gonna talk about this because I made it with a lot of friends, Crips who probably hated me, ended up being my brothers, being some of the best brothers to this day. But I was breaking those norms, right? But I had met this Aryan dude. This dude was tatted from head to the bottom of his feet, lightning bolts, swastikas everywhere. But he was high ranking though. He called shots. I didn't know that till later. But me and him got cool, right? And and I realized we had a lot of stuff in common, right? I saw past the tattoos. I looked at his tattoos like I looked at me putting on the red flag, right? It was just to protect the little boy and me. He didn't have no hate in his heart. He loved his family, this, that, there. He was a part of that because that's what you had to do. Remember walking outside, you see 10 kids getting stomped.
That was his where he came from. Yeah.
Same situation. Good, blah, blah, blah. So we became cool. So much so that a white dude, one morning, this little brother, he was from Detroit, but he came from Dallas. I knew him. He had been gone 8, 9, 10 years. He had just made parole. Just about to get out. He had like 3 or 4 months ago. And his cellie at Chow sliced his neck, like in the Chow line, cut his neck. And I'm talking about, it happened so quick. When we all turned around, he had cut his neck, and he just sticking him. So it wasn't nothing nobody could do because it happened quick. You could tell he was out of there. And so they put us on lockdown. So of course, even though the white dude that did it, he had a life sentence, he wasn't a part of the Aryan, but because he was white, the tension grew for a race riot, right? It was brewing. It was so thick. The tension was so thick you can cut it. You knew something was gonna happen. And so by this time, I had made SSI. I had made.
Was this in that B? Is it this in the max?
This in B. This in the max. So I had I made SSI, and I was a trustee. I became a trustee, right? Because all the work I was doing.
What's SSI?
That's like a person who clean, who get privileged to clean everywhere, and trustee. So my friend, who I connected with early on, it was brewing the black and white race war. It was somebody gonna get killed. It was gonna be a retaliation, and because of that relationship, I went to his cell, and because I was SSI and I was security, trustee.
You could do it without like
while everybody on lockdown. I could go all over the prison because we got
that broom. You can be like,
I could work that broom. So I pulled up on him to his cell.
That's funny. Pulled up on him with
that broom. And man, we began to talk, man, and the conversation was about preventing it from being a retaliation, blah blah blah. So I talked to him, carried that message to the BGF, the Black Guerrilla family, to all of the Bloods and Crips. I was working the broom all through the prison
for peace.
And man, I don't know. I know in my time, it ain't never been no situation where somebody get killed.
Bruce Wayne, Brother Teresa, and Mr. Clean.
All together in one. Yeah, for the good cause. And look, man, so that was the first time that a brother got killed and it wasn't no retaliation. They didn't kill nobody else. So we came off lockdown. But that work brought brothers together. And prior to getting out, so I saw on a micro level that if the right information, these brothers will drop these idiosyncrasies that keep us from connecting. So I saw that. And I want to do
because survival is still
right.
Nobody wants to die.
Right.
Nobody wants to be in a situation to where,
and nobody want to have a conversation. Yeah. So somebody got to bring them together, have a conversation, and be able to articulate the conversation in a way that respects everybody. You know, it don't. So that happened. So when I got ready to get released, tell you this, then I'm get to where you saying. I got ready to get released. I'll never forget. Some of these brothers told me, they said, man, you gonna go back out there, man. You did that in here, but when you get out there, it's another world, and you gonna go back to what you, because all of them familiar with what my prior story was. Yeah. You gonna go back to that now. You have an X on your back. You ain't gonna be able to do this. Can't get a job, apartment, etc. And I looked at them brothers and I said, well, if the X is what's gonna prevent me from being successful, I said, then I'm gonna have to make the X what makes me be successful. I'm gonna have to wear that proudly, right? And I never forget, man, when I got ready to leave, these grown men, mind you, I'm 24 when I'm leaving. These grown men, like my age now and older, these dudes, and killers, some of them, man, these dudes cried like babies. When I left, they said it'll never be the same. They cried like, I'm talking about grown men. Normally you would go around and tell everybody goodbye. They said, man, every last one of them said, look, just go. Don't even. I'm talking about crying. And I didn't, and that, you know, I'm 24 years old. That shit, I was like, whoa, you know what I'm saying?
Do you keep communication with them and things like that?
Oh, yeah. I have a whole prison ministry. But, so I ended up getting released. And everything that I said I was going to do while I was in prison, I'm doing it to the highest form right now. Travel around the country, represent brothers who've returned to citizens, speak across the country, White House, everything. That's my life now. I'm going in October, speaking to 600 employers, major employers, about the benefit of hiring returning citizens to their workforce, et cetera, et cetera. But all the stuff that I do now, that I've done in the last 24 years, is everything that I said I was going to do when I was incarcerated, and very successful at doing it. I had a friend just recently got out. He did like 20-some years since we were there, 24, 25 years. And he seen me. He came down to my office, and he told my whole team. I got a team of about 25 people, staff. He told my whole team. He said, man, everything, without provocation, he said, everything that this man said he was gonna do when we was in prison, he's done it. Everything that y'all see now, we talked about this walking around the track and on the rec yard, that he really lived everything that he said inside of prison, and everything that he doing now, he said he would do it. He is one of the ones that's throughout every prison in the state of Texas, 150 of them, I think. He said, everybody in here look at this man as the example, the epitome of redemption and transformation. You know, he's like legend in prison. This my guy just said that recently. Yeah. But that's the work, man. So all of that, my life story, that finding purpose, et cetera, is baked into the work that I do today. You know, so writing that book, I wanted to write the blueprint.
So the book is A Redemptive Path Forward.
From incarceration to a life of activism. And that book kind of chronicles, it's a memoir that chronicles that journey from Frazier courts, drug houses, to the White House, to out this country. It journaled all that, and how the relationships that I've made and nurtured over the years allowed me to be a representative, a servant of the people. So everything I do is about serving. Everything, urban specialist serving. We done helped over 18,000 people in our lifespan, catalyzed over 1,200 people who are doing the work, helped so many families. We everything we do, it's not work. It's it's purpose. So it's not work. It don't even feel like work because it's all purpose. It's all about helping people unlock their potential.
So what is your mission?
Man, my mission is for that little boy that I was, right, who was misunderstood, who just needed the right tools, who just needed to understand who he was and what he could become. I want to unlock that for everybody.
Yeah.
I think, we all have that little boy that I was just talking about, that little girl that need to be, it's the humanist theory, just need the right information around the right people and they can develop to their highest potential. And I'm on a mission to get communities, but most specifically men, to come into account and be the men and unlock and don't allow those kind of mentalities that prevent you from being your best. If I can go from everything that I went through as a kid and as a teenager to finding my why and then excel to the highest level, then anybody can do that. I'm an author. People pay me to speak. And I stay booked up, traveling around the country. I have a security company that only hires returning citizens, where they get paid decent wages, taking care of their families, and they become an example to the others. Prison ministry, where we go into prisons with men and women who are successful from those situations, who are killing the game across the country, to inspire the men to become their best and let them know that we not anomalies. Y'all can do it. See, when I was sitting in prison, Deion Sanders came in prison with Mike Barbers. I never forget that. He had on a fuchsia suit with some white tennis. That's why I always wear tennis with my suits now. Shout out to Deion. And I remember sitting in my white suit saying, man, I'm going to work with Prime. I said, I'm going to work with Deion. I spoke that into the existence. Deion did the forward to my book. That's my brother. I talk to him every day. You feel me? We travel the country, me and Prime.
Right.
But I spoke that into existence, right? Sitting behind bars. And so I want people to know. And it's a lot of other stuff that I do. It's a lot of stuff that I do. Got a real estate company. I'm in my neighborhood that sentenced me to prison. I'm currently right now building 100 homes in my neighborhood. And I was sitting in white. I'm building 100 homes. I just built 10. The next 15 is up. Just built a coffee shop, building a boxing gym in my own neighborhood. I want people to know that you can do it too. That I'm not special, that you can do it. But it's a certain mindset that you have to take on and a certain belief in yourself. It's a certain mindset that you take on that open up doors for you, man, all over the country. My life is great. The work is great. But I attribute that to me changing that mindset.
Yeah.
Quit blaming. I don't blame people. It's not the system, it's not the white man. I don't do all that.
Tell me why.
Because every morning when you get up, when your 2 feet hit that ground, like that saying go, you got 24 hours to make a difference. And however you spend that time tells where your life gonna be. So if you got a dream, you got something you want to do, what you pour into. My old school OG out my neighborhood, God bless his soul, rest in peace, Big Reese. If y'all know Derrick James, his stepdad that used to train EJ. Big Reese told me one day, he called me by my other nickname. He said, man, you can beat a wall with a concrete. You can beat a concrete wall with a spoon, and if you hit it long enough, it's gonna crumble. He gave me that a long time ago, man, and I approach everything like that. Like whatever I dream, whatever our vision, whatever our business is, if we put that energy into it every day, The law of nature gonna make it happen. It's to reap what you sow. Most people give up for the miracle happen, like Ice-T told Pookie in New Jack City. Don't leave for the miracle happen. Most people give up for the miracle happen, man. And for me, my life has been about constantly applying forward because I believe in what Big Maurice told me, and that has opened up a lot, which thus allowed me to help other people. And so my life to me, my success to me is not measured by all the stuff that I accumulate, because I accumulate a lot. I accumulate stuff, I got a lot. But that's not success to me. Success is when I run into people, as I often always do, on the streets, who say to somebody else, my life better because of him, or something he did, or something he said. That's success for me, and that's how I look at success. And I think I'm blessed because that's truly how I believe and how I think. I'm always looking, trying to help other people, unlocking them. I don't never judge. I'm always dishing out. And then the universe, God makes it get right back to me. Get right back to me. That it ain't about competing. I don't want to compete with the next man. I want to empower the next man. I want to help the next man get on. Because if he get on, guess what? At some point, he's going to say, man, Lucky, help me. Or I might fall flat. And if he on, he can help me out. That's how I operate. That's called principal entrepreneurship. I invest in people.
So, a couple things. What's something that no one knows about you, or not many know about you? Something that would just be like, wow, I didn't know that.
I'm really a nerd. I'm really a nerd. Like, in my place, all I do is read. Like, I'm an avid reader. Sometimes people think I just say that cavalier, but I like to read. Like, information is power. So I like to read, and I read it's books by my bed right now. I'm always taking in information. So a lot of times I tell my team how I stay better or on point is when most people sleeping, I'm up studying, I'm reading. That's how you get ahead. You gotta have the information, man. And information is power when you apply it. So I'm always reading. Most people ain't gonna read.
Hold on. I don't want to skip over that. Information is power when you apply it. That's what people miss.
They miss the applying part.
Yeah,
you gotta make it applicable. You gotta apply that information.
It's a seed. A seed doesn't do what it's supposed to do unless it's working. It's applied.
It's applied, man.
Yeah.
That's the key to anything, man. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people think they can just wing their way through it. In this new age of everybody the expert and everybody, but you gotta do the work, man. You gotta get the information. You can put me in any setting, anywhere, and guarantee you I'm gonna blossom because you have to have information. You gotta know everything, but you gotta have some information. Information is power, man, when applied, man. And most people, because we are so, the saying said, you want to hire something from a black man, put it where? In a book. and that's true because most people don't want to get the information. And books are simply it's what we doing now.
It's conversation.
It's yours experience. I can turn the microphone and start interviewing you, and I'm going to learn so much about you. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, man, Walter did this, and he did that, et cetera, et cetera. Let me learn from that. So that's shared information that what you've been through, I can make applicable to my life. You feel me? That's what books are.
Let's turn that microphone. Let's start you a podcast. Let's get you a podcast going.
Yeah. That'll be dope. But yeah, man. So I enjoy it, man. I really do enjoy doing what I do. I mean, I really do enjoy it. I like the feeling when I go back to the prison, because I go to the prison once a month, every month. I love when I walk in prison, them brothers, more than anything, saying, hey, man, you give us hope. You don't really understand how much you empower us. You don't understand. And them brothers, they protect me like I'm, you know what I'm saying? That right there, right? I had to come back and think about that and be like, wow. You know, it's something. It's something. You know, because these brothers saying, man, you give us hope. You let us know that it can be done. It's nothing more powerful than that.
So look in that camera and speak some hope for somebody.
Yeah.
And then tell them where they can find you and where they can get the book and how they can reach out to you.
I listen to me. If you're listening right now, I want to say I'm going to give you some jewels that my mentor gave me. Listen, only inspired people can inspire people. Let me say that again. Only inspired people can inspire people. So be an inspiration so you can inspire people. And then, two, let me say this to you. No matter what happens to you, you are responsible for what you do for you. Let me say that one more time. They probably get that, Walter. No matter what happens to you, everybody can talk about what happened to them, my situation, my mom, my dad, et cetera, et cetera. But you are responsible. You, looking at this camera, you right there, are responsible for what you do for you, right? I want to leave y'all with that. And then let me just say this. If you want to get in touch with me, follow me at Antong Speak on all social medias. If you want to learn about the organization, you can send us an email at info@urbanspecialist.org. That's specialist with an S. Or you can go to The Urban Specialist with an S at the end on all social media platforms. Send us a message. Or you can go to my personal page. That's BRUSEWANE. BRUSEWANE, the real Bruce Wayne. Follow me. I'm looking forward to connecting with whoever decides they want to connect.
Thank you, my brother Teresa.
And I'm taking that. I'm taking Brother Teresa. And then lastly, let me plug the book.
Go ahead.
Make sure you go on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere where books are sold, and pick up A Redemptive Path Forward, from incarceration to a life of activism. And when you read it, please go leave me a review. Just tell me what you think. If you like it, you don't like it, whatever, just do that. Anywhere you find books.
Right on.
Thank you
for listening to the Southside 457 podcast. I'm your host, Walter Johnson Jr. Until next time, peace.
Southside 457.